All right. Happy Tuesday / happy almost St. Patrick's Day for all my Irish people who reminded me every day for the last 3 or 4 weeks. Summer. But just a huge shout out to Summer for decorating up the office in green. I joked with her, I said every holiday needs to be like this now. But apparently she's only passionate about St. Patrick's Day. The O'Connor. Yep, Trish is okay with that. Yeah. Great. We have an exciting meeting today, you guys. Jam-packed. We have an amazing speaker, Beth Hutchinson, which I'm so excited to bring to you. Thank you to my NHD. But let's get started. First off, we just want to welcome our newcomers. So here in the front row, we have Miss Tracy. Stand on up. Tracy, why don't you introduce yourself? Let's say a couple sentences about who you are and why you joined the office.
Well, my name is Tracy. I'm from Orange County. Grew up in Anaheim. My background is property management, and I'm excited to join the company.
Yeah, we're excited to have you. Thank you, Regina, too. Shout out to you. Yes, love it. Thank you for putting us in contact. Ben, we would like to welcome Ben, too, in our Valley office. Welcome, Ben. David, same thing, in our Valley office. Welcome, you guys. And Nicole, Manny, do you want to say anything about the 3 of them?
Done team, done team, welcome. They keep growing fast. They tripled themselves in the last 2 weeks only.
Super impressive.
So it's a busy market out there. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, super impressive. Thank you. You guys, one more big round of applause for all the people that trained us this week. Thank you. All right, so we're gonna move right into our closings. Congrats to our closings we had this week. We had Rita Kambarian, Kim Nguyen, Tim Matchka, Penny McCann, Sushma, Joe Rogan, and Lindsay, and Jim Reyes. So what does that equal? 7,829,000. Congratulations. Strong week. Another good strong week. Shout out to you guys. They're all there on that list. So let's take a look at our new listings that we have currently in the office. All right, first one. Shout out to Lior. His listing 21400 Burbank Boulevard, Unit 119. It's in Woodland Hills. It's listed for $579,000, 2-bed, 2-bath. Brandy, you want to pitch your listing?
Sure. New listing in Riverside, 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It is on a corner lot. It is really nice. It's going to be subject to a 1031 exchange, and it is currently tenant occupied, so you have to give proper notice.
Awesome. Being delivered with tenants in place?
No. Okay. They've been given notice.
Contact Brandy there. Congrats, Brandy. All right. Does anyone else have any listings they'd like to pitch? Buyer needs they have? Penny, Micaiah.
I have something soon in Rancho Cucamonga. I would say that word. Swimmer. Rancho Cucamonga. They're located on close to 1/4 of an acre. 5-bedroom, 6 bathrooms. And we're looking at about 1.4-ish. Okay.
Congrats.
Where is it again?
Cucamonga. Such a fun word, especially with your accent. Even cuter. Even cuter. Tim.
Hi, everyone. I have the 1-bedder, 1-bath coming up. Not in MLS yet. They have international power. In Long Beach, 700 feet ocean. Has a nice ocean view, air conditioning, front parking space.
Very cool. Very cool. Congrats. The International Tower. You guys know it. What floor?
It's on the 6th floor and it's an 07, so it's got
Nice view. Got it. Love it. Who else? Judy Pierce.
San Pedro, 2-bedroom, 1-bath. Soon with the studio behind. $899.
Awesome. $899. So it's 2 units?
Yes.
Awesome.
And it's zoned R2.
Great. Is it currently rented out?
No.
Love that. Congrats, Judy. Judy Pierce. Judy Pierce. Love that. Anyone else? Ace.
I have a buyer that's looking to buy in the Fargo, Westminster, Anaheim area. 3 and 2 up to 1-for-1 cash. Able to have a fixed offer.
That's awesome. Congrats, Ace. Anyone else?
Tony, for sure.
Veritas. Hey, congrats, Tony.
We've got 3 listings that are going to be signed today. in Hacienda Heights on Turnbull. They're new builds. If you're looking for a new build, they did a great job with it.
Amazing.
Any different sizes and price points. So starting at 848 all the way to 960.
I love that. Congratulations. I know you and Tony have been crushing it on the phones. You guys have been doing a great job. Good job. I love that. Anyone else? Good energies. All right, so I'd like to bring up our sponsor here, Francine. Come on up here. Francine, we just want to give you a big round of applause and thank you. She has a couple words to share. She's our favorite Cutco lady. Mike and I buy the Cutco from her and it is still sharp, so. Great. Francine, what do you have to share with us?
Thank you. Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, whatever it is. I'm Francine with Petco Closing Gifts. Francine Hilton, and there's no family relation, so I'm here working with you guys. Okay? Who here, by the way, has heard of Petco or Petco Closing Gifts? Can you raise your hands? Proud, high. Who has Petco in their home or uses Petco Closing Gift program? Okay, real high. High for me. Look around at all the beautiful, smart people with their hands up. If your hand's not raised, don't worry, I'm giving you fun. Okay? You guys know NAR, right? So NAR, can you guys guess after 2 years, what % of people can name their agent after just 2 years? Can you guys guess? Yeah, it's actually about 9% after just 2 years. So if you don't have a system in place that's helping your clients remember who you are and the services that you provide, you should definitely check us out. I do have a table on the back. Can you guys tell me what are some popular gifts that you've seen given? Just shout it out. What are some common gifts? Cutting boards. Gift cards.
What are these? Alcohol.
That's what we have, yeah. Alcohol, right? And those are, we love them, they're gifts. What happens to those gifts, 24 months down the road, a year down the road? They're used, they're eaten, drank, gone forever, really? So leaving no long-term value for that relationship. And we've worked with a lot of realtors, and a lot of what they've shared with us is with their gifting problems is that they're consuming very quickly and they're leaving no long-term value. So what we do is we take the Cutco product, which is American made, been around since 1949. We engrave it for you. And they're actually covered under forever guarantee as well. So we sharpen them for free. You guys know what the IRS typically allows you to write off for closing gifts? $25 per client, right? But what can you really get for 25 bucks these days? Not too much. And most of you are spending much more than that as well. So since we engrave your gifts with your name, logo, information, it now makes your gifts legally 100% tax deductible. We could put a fun little tagline on there, like thanks for spreading the word, your sharpest realtor in town, quit cutting my commissions. Okay. The cheesier, the better.
That's a good
And I'll pass this around in a minute. But anyone in here enjoy getting referrals? A few of you guys, good. So they also make great referral gifts, right? Great anniversary gifts when your clients have been in their home, the 1 year or 2 year mark. Now they've met people in their sphere who are looking to buy or sell. Now they're thinking about how long do you want to be in this home, and it's a great time to be top of mind. You know what you're thinking? Do my clients want a knife as a closing gift? And so we did do some very extensive research on your behalf, and there's 2 things that we found. One is that all of your clients have a kitchen, and they all eat food. So they're gonna use them, right? We're not in the caveman days where we don't cut up our food now. So they will get used. Our most popular gifts, they're gonna range from about $90 to $300. That's what most of you are already spending. So again, it's just diverting your funds more strategically for branding for your business. So what we do is we'll set you up with a year supply. That way your gifts are ready on hand. So say you need 6 gifts for the year. We'll send you all 6. Just pay for 1 per month. Designing is super easy. Let's say you need 24 gifts for the year.
There you go.
Just pay for 2 per month. If you need 100 gifts for the year, see me after the meeting. Okay. But again, super easy system in place. So it's one less thing for you to worry about for your business. So when you think about it, when you think about all the gifts you've been given throughout your life, or birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, holidays, whatever it may be, how many of those gifts can you use on a regular basis that are American made, covered under a forever guarantee, of high quality, can be used on a daily basis, can lead to future business for you? I know of one, and it's Cutco. So I understand some of you guys may want more information on our closing gift program. So if you do, come see me at the end. But my phone number is up here. So what I want you guys to do for me, just pull out these handy dandy devices that we all live by. Pull out your cell phone, open the texting app for me, and type in my phone number. Just don't tell my husband that I'm giving out my phone number freely. Okay. So my phone number is 562-715-8863. Don't text me quite yet, but 562-715-8863. If you want more information on our closing gift program, you're just going to include your name and email, and I'll follow up with you. But I do like to reward people for taking action. So what I'm going to do for you guys, because I dedicated the afternoon to this office here. There's one of me and a lot of realtors around town. So I dedicated my day today for you guys. So what I'm going to do, for the first 5 people who would like to get started on our program or reload on their gifts, what I'm going to do is lock you into half price engraving, which is good for your order today and all of your future orders with me. So half price engraving for life. Also, I want you guys to experience the awesomeness of Cutco as well. So for the first 5 people, I'm also going to buy you $120 worth of Cutco for yourself, so that you get to experience the quality of the product as well as you give them to your clients. So half price engraving, $120 of Cutco for you, and I'm going to do that for the first 5 people. So if you want to be one of the 5, when you text me, include the words "I'm in," so I know to save you a spot. And have a good rest of your day.
Awesome. Thank you, Francine. Thank you.
I'll pass this gift around. If you don't have your cell phone or your card, you could just put your info there for
The
me.
utility knife is a great one for gifts. It's got the little serrated kind of thing down at the bottom. That thing will cut chicken. It will cut anything. It is like the all knife at our house, right? And the scissors, those are great too. Scissors are really good too. All right, so I know you're all here to hear me speak, but let's be real, you really want to hear Gov, right? So I'd love to bring up here Gov Hutchinson. We had it brought in, and just a special shout out to my NHD and our partners there. Gov, why don't you just take over here, and Gov will speak a little while, and then we might have some time for some questions too at the end.
Yes,
So
we have time
thank
for
you.
questions. You can interrupt me anytime with questions. How you doing? If you don't know who I am, I'm in charge of the legal hotline at CAR. So remember, if you have legal questions, free legal advice is available to you. Call us anytime, and we'd be glad to help. Also, everything I'm talking about today, we have in writing somewhere. We have these, if you ever go to our website, you go to the risk management section, we have things called quick guides, 1-page summaries of pretty much everything I'm going to talk about if you're interested in that. All right. Why am I here? I want to update you on the latest legal stuff that's going on. There's a lot going on. You got to keep up with it because it keeps changing. Have you noticed that? You go to all this trouble to learn everything to get your license, and then they change it all on you constantly. So you got to keep up. That's why you're here. All right, let's talk about the stuff. First up, the elephant in the room. I might as well get it out of the way first. What's the latest on these lawsuits you know about, right? You know, there's like 23 of them now nationwide. Keller Williams was involved in the first one that went to trial. But that case isn't even over yet. You know why? Because the plaintiffs in Keller Williams 7, the plaintiffs in that case are not just asking for money. They're asking for a court order to order the rules to be changed. Their argument is the whole system where agents get paid in this country is wrong. The system I'm talking about is typically where the seller pays the listing agent and the listing agent pays the buyer's agent through the MLS. They want that outlawed. They don't want you to be able to use the MLS to pay buyer's agents. They don't want listing agents to pay buyer's agents at all. They think the only way a buyer's agent should get paid is from the buyer directly. Okay. So as I said, There are 23 cases. Only one of these has gone to trial on the money part. That's being appealed. But even that first case hasn't made this decision on whether these rules are okay. So that court will make a decision probably in May. Whatever they decide, it'll be appealed immediately, which means nothing will change right away, if ever. So people sometimes call me up panic and say, I heard I can't pay buyer. No, nothing has changed today. Nothing has changed. You can do what you've always done. And you know what? Nothing may ever change. And if it does change, it's not going to be tomorrow. So keep that in the back of your mind. I mean, worst case scenario, it is possible that this whole commission structure you're familiar with will go away. No use worrying about it because there's nothing you can do about it. It takes a long time, these cases. Our side has a lot of good lawyers on this, so we'll see what happens. But there's something else that's happening related that pretty much is going to happen. And that is mandatory buyer broker contracts. 15 states in this country already require this. California and pretty much every other state has bills, legislation pending that's going to make that happen. My prediction is it will pass in California. I don't know when it will become effective, maybe next year, maybe the year after, but the point is, my prediction is you're all going to be required to use buyer broker contracts, which might actually be a good thing, right? If you think about it now, if you try to get a buyer to sign a buyer broker contract, they might say, well, the broker across the street isn't asking for that. Why should they give you that? But imagine if it's automatic, if it's mandatory. Then it's going to be pretty easy to get someone to sign it because they have no choice. And by the way, all the other states where this is happening, nothing, no one blinked an eye. It just happens. Realtors are getting paid the same commissions they've always gotten. It doesn't change the dynamic, but it's something you're going to have to learn. I mean, we have a free 1-hour virtual class on buyer broker contract. You can take it over and over again if you want, which shows you how to do the form. And you say, what, has a new law got passed yet? No. But Sierra already has a buyer broker contract. I have been personally advising you to use this form for 35 years. I think buyer broker contracts are a good thing. They demonstrate your commitment to the client, their commitment to you. It protects you in a dispute. It tells the buyer what you're going to do. They tell you what they're going to do. Everybody understands it. It inspires loyalty, and it protects you from the buyer who stabs you in the back. Have you ever had one of those? You work with them diligently to find the perfect house, and then they write up the offer with their cousin who just got their license. If you had a buyer broker contract, you know what you could do? You could kill them. You can't kill them. You can sue your client. If you don't have a buyer broker contract, your only remedy is to take the cousin to arbitration and hope you'll win. If you have a buyer broker contract where your buyer betrays you like that, you can sue them. And by the way, let's say the buyer broker contract becomes mandatory. That doesn't mean buyers are going to pay your commission, because the buyer broker contract says any payment that the buyer's agent gets from another source is credited against that. So typically, for example, you'll have a buyer broker contract. The buyer will sign and say, I agree that if I buy any house in the next 60 days, just like a listing, if I buy anything in the next whatever, I'll pay you, I'll just make up a number, 2.5%. But then they're going to end up probably buying something that's on the MLS, where the listing agent is offering 2 or 3%. Chances are the buyers aren't going to have to pay you anything because you're still going to get paid through the MLS. I mean, sometimes I'll pay you, like, what if the MLS on this listing is offering you 2%, but you have a buyer broker contract promising you 2.5%? What does that mean? They owe you 0.5%. But you know, even then they might not have to pay, because have you noticed? There's already a section on the purchase contract, paragraph 3G3, where the buyer can ask the seller to pay the money they owe their agent. And that's rarely used today because most of you don't use buyer broker contracts. But if you all start using them, that might be a more common thing. Now, of course, one possibility is 2 or 3 years from now, the courts actually say listing agents cannot pay buyer's agents. I don't think that's gonna happen, but it's possible. If that happens, then it's really gonna be important that the buyer signs and pays you because that's how you're gonna get paid, right? But remember, there are two different things. The lawsuits, which have a long way to go and we have no idea what's gonna happen. Separate from that, buyer broker contracts, that's going to happen. And you know what's part of that? Part of that is you'll be disclosing to your client up front, which makes sense, how much you're gonna get paid. In other words, it's part of this contract, you're gonna say to your client, okay, if you buy this house, I get paid 2. If you buy this house, I get 2.5. If you buy this house, I get paid 3. So that'll be something you'll have to disclose up front. We've already got a form for this already, but. So is it required yet? No. Is it going to be? Probably. We'll know soon. We'll know this year. Okay? Questions on any of this stuff? Yeah.
Because I can understand that a lawsuit, people sue, they want to get
Right.
money from the people who sued, who started this lawsuit.
Yeah.
Really, what do they get?
I mean, what do they get from this?
From suing us, what's the benefit to them?
Other than the money they get?
Well, yeah, well,
I mean, in other words,
they want to change the rules, that's not.
right, why do they want to change the rules? They just want the money. But like I said, there's a push, the federal government, by the way, is against that. The federal government is on the side of the plaintiffs. They are pushing for this. The Department of Justice is pushing for this. So whether it happens through a lawsuit, whether it happens, the federal government, I mean, the good thing is the federal government can't just change the rules. It would have to go through a court, but they're supporting the plaintiff's side. Here's what the people think realtors get paid too much. I don't think realtors get paid enough, but that's not what they do. So they think the reason realtors get paid what they get paid is because of the system. And you're all conspiring to use these rules to get more money than you should otherwise get. That's the argument. So they don't just want money, they want the rules changed going forward. They think in the future, buyer's agent commissions will come down if buyers have to pay. That's sort of the thing. So, point is, nothing you can do about this. But be ready for buyer broker contracts, because I think that's happening either way. Okay? Yeah.
Is there anything current or in the future, being present, that would prevent us from asking the seller to pay?
No, I don't see that. In other words, you ask sellers to pay other closing costs, right? Don't you normally ask the seller to pay the escrow fee, the title fee, the transfer taxes, the NHD report, the HOA? They pay for everything. This stuff might just be one more thing you ask them to pay for. The commission the buyer owes their loan agent, just a closing. Buyers are used to, sellers are used to paying closing costs. And if anyone thinks about it logically, buyers paying everybody anyway.
Exactly.
All the money that anybody gets in real estate comes from the buyer's purchase price. The listing agent's commission, everyone's commission, the closing costs, everyone, where does that money come from? It comes from the money the buyer brings to the table. So anyway, no use speculating on what's going to happen or the motivation behind it. I'm just telling you sort of where we're at right now. There's nothing you have to do now, but get ready for buyer broker contracts. All right? Yeah.
It's part of the lawsuit, and AR no longer requires us to offer a commission.
But that's already happened.
But have you seen that take hold yet? In other words,
You know-
we've seen listings with 0 commission.
But what's weird is, the rule is, in order to put a property to the MLS, you have to offer money to the buyer's agent. But all these years, you've only been required to offer a penny. Well, now they've changed the rule. You don't even have to offer a penny. You can put it in the MLS and offer 0. To me, there's not a big difference between a penny and 0. But as you know, listing agents, they don't offer a penny. They offer more than that. Because you guys, sellers and listing agents, have come to the conclusion that it's in our interest on the seller side to help the buyer get an agent. That makes the deal work better. That helps everybody make more money. It just works. So no, the fact that now you can offer 0 as opposed to $1 or a penny doesn't change anything. And by the way, there have already been states like the state of Washington, where for the last few years, You've been able to put a listing in the MLS without offering anything, and people still do it. And the commissions are working out the same. So we'll see what happens. All right? So that's where we are with that. Let's talk about other stuff. I'll do a quick review of any new laws and new forms you need to know about other than this stuff. New laws, there's just a couple worth talking about. One of them is interesting. You know, when you list a house is 50 years old, sellers live there 20 years. Do you have to disclose to the buyer every renovation and repair that was done on that house in the last 50 years? No, the seller doesn't even know about it. But what about during the last 20 years where the sellers actually lived there? Do they have to disclose every repair they've done in the last 20 years? No. What's the rule? They have to disclose major repairs and renovations. I know what you're thinking. What's the difference between a major repair and a minor repair? Nobody knows. When in doubt, disclose. But here's the new law. New law says July 1st. If you're selling a house you've owned less than 18 months, you have to disclose everything. It's called the flipper law. So, in other words, starting July 1st, if I accept an offer within 18 months of the day I closed escrow on the purchase, I have to tell my buyer every single repair I did during those 18 months. And if I used a contractor, I got to give him the contractor's contact information. And if I got a permit, I got to give him the permit or tell him where to get the permit. So in other words, there will be a distinction between major and minor. If you own the house less than 18 months, you're just going to do it automatically. Okay? You're going to say, how am I going to remember this? There's going to be a new question on the seller property questionnaire, that mandatory form that the seller fills out. It's going to say, hey, if you own this house less than 18 months, if so, do this. Okay? The second new law is interesting. And your sponsor, my NHD, is interested in this, is if any of you have opened escrow in the last, since January 1st, you've noticed, if you look, that the NHD report is slightly different. On the signature page of the NHD report, when you look at the fire section, there's a yes or no box. You know, right, that every house in California is either in a very high fire zone, a high fire zone, a moderate fire zone, or nothing. Did you know if you're in the top two, you have to give the buyer this form, the fire hardening defensible space form? So the question is, how do I know if my listing is in one of these zones requiring this form? Well, it used to be you had to do a little investigating. The NHD report didn't tell you for sure. But here's what just happened January 1st. There's now a yes or no box. If the yes is checked, you know you have to give them the form. If the no is checked, it's not. Very simple. I'm glad you clapped in the front row. You should all because that's the only good news I have for you all day. Enjoy it. Your life is slightly easier because when you take a listing, it's easy to determine if the fire hardening form is required. You just look at the yes or no on the signature page of the NHD report. Okay. Anything else, new laws you should know about? Okay. I would say a disturbing trend I'm seeing is realtors getting sued for giving advice to their clients regarding rentals. I mean, do you guys do property management? You used to.
That's a brokerage.
No.
Okay, so you guys don't even do property management. So why am I even telling you this? Because you'll have clients with tenants. I mean, when you were pitching listing, she asked, do they have a tenant or not? Because it comes up. You have clients with tenants, whether you're property managing or not. They will ask you questions about the tenant. How do I get rid of this tenant? Can I get rid of this tenant? Can I increase the rent? How much can I increase the rent? And realtors who want to seem like you know everything, just like I like to pretend I know everything, we answer the question, often incorrectly. And they rely on what you say, and then they have a problem and you get sued. So the easiest thing I can tell you is if they ask you a question about a rental, just don't answer. That's not really practical because they depend on you for answers. So let me just update you on a couple new things. By the way, the other answer is that before you answer the question, at least talk to your manager or talk to the legal hotline or me or somebody so we can tell you. So a couple things are changing. Number one, did you know that the maximum security deposit used to be right now it's 2 months, right, for unfurnished, 3 months furnished, you know, it's going down to 1 month, on July first. However, if you only have 4 units or less, you can still charge 2 months. Nobody can charge 3 months starting July first. So once again, if I only have, what if I got 2 condos I'm renting? You're fine. What if I have 3 no, you're not fine. Because the exemption is no more than 4 units or no more than 2 properties. So if you have a fourplex, you're under, your 4 units or less, you're good. You got 2 duplexes, you're good. I got 3 single-family homes, I'm over 2, I'm not exempt. I can only charge 1 month. See what I'm saying? By the way, there's a loophole here. I got 10 rental properties. Uh-oh, I can only charge 1 month security. Make sure that you can transfer those units into, create an LLC. And make sure, create a bunch of LLCs. And make sure no one LLC has more than 4 units. Because as long as the individual owner, which could be your wholly owned LLC, owns no more than 4, you can still charge 2 months rather than 1 month. Of course, this is a loophole. I guarantee they're going to close, so do it quick. Okay. All right, so. The other thing to remember is, okay, we're in Long Beach today. Long Beach has rent control, right? LA has rent control. Santa Monica has rent control. Pasadena has rent control. There are a lot of cities you work in that have rent control. But even if you're in a place that doesn't have local rent control, there's California rent control. People forget this. So I don't care where you are in California. If you have a rental property that's 2 or more units, 15 years or older, you're under California rent control. This even applies in the city of LA. The city of LA rent control only applies to units pre-78. But think of all the units in LA that are not that old, but they're more than 15 years old, and they're 2 or more units. They're under California rent control. So it gets so complicated. And what does it mean if you're under California rent control? 2 things. You're limited on how much you can increase the rent, and you need an excuse to evict someone. Single-family homes are exempt. If you have a single-family home, you can increase the rent as much as you want. Number 2, you don't need a reason to evict someone from a single-family unit unless you're in LA or Pasadena or cities with local rent control. But let's say I'm not under local rent control, great, I don't need a reason. But let's say I got a 20-year-old duplex or triplex or fourplex. I can only increase the rent a certain amount each year. How much? 5% plus inflation. What's the inflation rate this year in LA County? Anybody know? 3%. You're close. The maximum, by the way, is always going to be 10%. In LA County this year, it's 3.8 plus 5, 8.8. So no one can increase their rent by more than 8.8% this year. If you're a single family home, more than that, whatever you want. But if you're in LA City rent control, 4%. Don't you already have a headache? I don't even want you to try to remember this stuff. I want you to know that if my client asks, or maybe some of you have rental properties, I want you to just think to yourself, before I increase my client's rent, my tenant's rent, I'm going to talk to somebody. Because it's going to depend on where I am, how old is it, how many units, etc.
Is that absolute, or if the tenant agrees to hire? Can it go-
Don't even try to do that.
No, I'm
I know,
asking,
but if
it's
the tenant-
mine raised. I was looking.
If the crazy tenant agrees to pay more than that, still don't do it. Because they'll come back later and say, I never really knew what I was doing, blah, blah. Just don't do that. Don't do that, yeah.
Didn't I hear when you spoke at the broker tour that the rule also applies if you own more than 1 property, even if it's outside of California?
Well, that's what I was talking about, the maximum security deposit.
Oh, okay, yeah,
I say no more than 4 units, that includes units outside.
outside of California, that's what I thought, yeah.
So,
If it's if it's 3 properties on 1 parcel,
yeah,
but the front property is a single family,
right.
can you raise the rent indiscriminately?
So that's a good question. You got a house and you got another unit, or maybe an ADU, accessory dwelling unit. Maybe you got 2 of them. Main house, 2 other houses, 1 lot, single family lot. Is that a single family property for purposes of raising rent, or is it a triplex? And the answer is, if you rent out the whole thing, if you say to the tenant, you get everything. You get the main house, you get the other, it's all yours. That's a single family rental. But if you rent them out separately, that's a triplex. And then you're gonna have to figure out how old are these other property, are they older than 15 years? Uh-oh, then I'm restricted, right? By the way, remember I said 2 or more units? One building duplexes are exempt if you live in one of them. So I got a duplex, I live in one half, I'm renting out the other. I'm not restricted. But if it's a separate duplex, like accessory dwelling unit that's separate, guest house separate, and you rent it out separately, then you are you're not exempt as an unoccupied. It just gets complicated. And what the other thing to remember is, if I have a tenant in one of these properties, I can't just evict them because I don't like them. If you have the beauty of renting out a single family home is you can just say to the tenant, you gotta leave, and they say, why? And you say, because I don't like you. Or I'm bored with you. Or I don't like your new hairstyle. I just don't like you. You need to leave. I don't need a reason. I don't need an excuse. But if you're in a rent control city, that's obviously not true. And even if you're not in a rent control city, that's not true if it's 2 or more units, 15 years old or older. In those cases, obviously you can evict the tenant if they don't follow the rules, they don't pay the rent. Yes, but what if they're doing everything right? There's only 3 ways to evict them. Number 1, you could take the property off the rental market. You got to keep it off the rental market for 2 years. Do you hate the tenant that much? You'd rather have the property vacant for 2 years? Maybe. By the way, usually why do you want to kick out a tenant? Because they're probably paying 1/3 of the market rent. And you can only increase it by 10%. But if I get a new tenant, new tenants, you can always increase the rent as much as you want. The problem is you can't get rid of the old tenant unless you have a reason. The other 2 reasons, by the way, are owner move-in and substantial remodel. Owner move-in means you have to send them eviction notice and say, you need to leave because this person is moving in, and this person is my child, grandchild, parent, grandparent, or my favorite spouse. Honey, you gotta move into the rental. It's just business, nothing personal. You gotta move to the rental.
A specific time that they have to live in there.
And they have to stay there for 12 months. Think of it as a trial separation. The point is, it cannot be your cousin, nephew, uncle, brother, sister, in-law who moves in for a week. It's gotta be direct line of succession, 12 months.
So are you saying I'm required to renew leases?
Isn't that interesting? So in other words, you sign someone up on a lease, you're thinking, lease is over. It's not I'm evicting them, it's just the lease is over. No, you are required to let them stay. Now, it's interesting. You can say to them, you could say to them, okay, I want you to sign a new lease. And if they say, no, I'd rather be month to month, you can kick them out for not signing a new lease. But let's say you don't really want a new lease and they don't want a new lease, month to month, yeah, they're month to month forever. Unless you do an owner move in, or there's one other way to get them out, and that's substantial remodel. But that's a big deal. You have to give them a notice that says, I'm kicking you out because we're going to remodel the place. You have to tell them exactly what you're doing. You have to get the permit before you give them the notice. And the work that you do has to involve making the entire property uninhabitable for 30 consecutive days. That's a big remodel. So if you do all this and the contractor looks like they're going to finish before 30 days, you say, slow down. Stop. Stretch this out.
Yeah, bonus.
Because the penalties, if you mess this up, if you tell someone it's an owner movement, but you don't follow through, if you tell them it's a substantial amount, you don't follow through, they can sue you for treble damages and punitive damage and attorney fees. Don't mess around with this. It's serious. Yeah.
So I may have missed this, the 12-month lease thing.
Yeah.
So if you lease for 12 months and they want to renew, you have to renew.
No. You don't have to renew the lease. You can choose to say, no, I just want you to stay here month to month.
Oh, but you have to let them stay.
But you have to let them stay, right?
But if it's less than 12 months, they haven't gotten that year in, then you can move them out.
Right. He's saying something I didn't say, but he knows. Tenants only get these rights if they've been there 12 months. So most of the people, when you rent to someone, you start them off with a 12-month lease, right? So during the lease, you can't touch them because they're on a lease. So the lease is over, great, up, they've been there 12 months. Start thinking about 11-month lease. Because then you got them committed for 11 months, then they're done, but they haven't been there 12 months. You can kick them out for no reason. If you let them stay one more month, what does that mean? You're a tenant for life. You're never getting rid of them. Yeah.
So, without asking you to like recap all the situations where the rules apply and
Yeah.
where's the best place that we can go online to actually get like all the details? Because this is really important.
Yes. Okay. Now, so there's several things going on I'm talking about. If you want to find out about, first you can always call the legal hotline. That's a good thing. If I want to find information about Long Beach rent control or LA rent control, either call the hotline or they have good websites. If you want to find out about this California law, go to our website. We have a great handout called Tenant Protection Act, and it summarizes all this stuff. So,
So for Long Beach specific, recommend.
Long Beach's website. You can call it, it's very good. I've looked at it. I look at it all the time. Well, I mean, it's for rentals, I can understand. So, because I don't memorize this stuff myself. I memorize the California law, but I can't keep track of every single city. You're getting the sense, all I really want you to take away from this is, that's complicated crap. I'm gonna ask you for advice before I either evict or raise rent. Don't evict or raise rent without getting advice.
11-month lease, not just for cities other than LA and.
Right, so in other words, in LA, for example, I don't care if it's 11-month lease or not. In LA, you're gonna need just cause to evict them, but that's only properties older than 78. There's a whole lot of properties built between 78 and 15 years ago, which is 2009, where this would apply in LA. So even within a rent control city, the rules aren't consistent. So it's always gonna depend on where are you, what local rent control laws, how old is the property, how many units is it, and how long have they been there? By the way, 5 years ago, none of this was true. There was no California law. We just dealt with the local laws. We didn't have to deal with California, but this is it. This is forever now. We got to deal with this. Okay? All right, a couple more things. Are there any other new laws before I do a quick review of new forms that you should know about? I would say just a couple things. There's something that's coming. And this sort of relates to forms, because we're going to get a new form. Did you know? Have you ever heard that there's a new law, by January 1st, apartment buildings and condo buildings have to inspect their balconies? Let me give you a very specific thing. Any apartment building or condo complex that has 3 or more units, and it has any exterior balconies, stairways, staircase, decks that are at least 6 feet off the ground. They're not decorative. People actually stand on them. And they're built of wood or wood-based materials. So 6 feet off the ground, 3 or more units, wood materials, exterior elevated elements. They got to be inspected by January 1st. And once they're inspected, if the inspector, who has to be a certain type of engineer, an architect, or a certain type of general contractor, if they discover problems, the problems have to be fixed immediately. If they're emergency problems, they have to be fixed immediately. Even if they're not emergency, they have to be fixed within 120 days. So the HOA can't just say, oh, thanks for telling us that. Yeah, good news, thanks. No, they have no choice. They have to fix it. Think what this means. Your client buys a condo. The condo complex has 150 balconies. They haven't been inspected. A month after your client closes, they do an inspection. All 150 balconies have to be replaced at a cost of $50,000 each. Your client who just bought the condo now gets a special assessment for $50,000. They're not going to be happy with you. Why did you tell me this was going to happen? So how am I supposed to know? The point is, there's a new form coming. Balcony inspection disclosure coming out in June. And there's going to be a new paragraph on the purchase contract telling people about this. So no one will be able to say, my realtor never told me this could happen. Yeah, we did. Of course, think about it. You're selling condos today. this new form's not coming out till June. I would start bringing it up today. If I were you representing a buyer, buying a condo, and the building has balconies, it has staircases, it has something, say, and we got a nice one-page quick guide, I'd recommend a balcony inspection deadline. I mean, what if you don't do any of this? And the terrible thing I said is, can they sue you? Anyone can sue anyone. They're not gonna win. It's not your job as a realtor, thankfully, to be able to keep up with all this stuff. But you don't want the lawsuit in the first place. So doing this is gonna prevent the problem, the argument in the first place. So I'd recommend before June, maybe giving them our one-page balcony inspection quick guide. Starting in June, it'll be easy because there'll be a new form and there's also gonna be a new paragraph on the purchase contract. Okay? All right. Other things you need to know about new law wise. That is pretty much the important stuff. By the way, and this is, I'm talking to management. This is not a big deal, but all businesses that do business in the corporate form, not all, I'm not even sure if Keller Williams is exempt or not, but a lot of businesses are gonna have to file this simple form by the end of the year, disclosing to the federal government who anyone who owns the business who has at least 25% interest in the business. You guys talk to the form isn't even out. It's not even available to do yet. But let's just do this, with your accountant or something, because there's gonna be a new filing. This applies to individual realtors. Some agents I know create corporations for purposes of compensation. And that's legal, by the way. It's legal to tell your broker, please pay my commission to my corporation. That's perfectly legal. But guess what, agent? You're gonna have to file this form by January 1st, disclosing that, yes, even though the name of this, I'm getting paid in the name of blah, 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 actually I, Doug Hutchinson, am the beneficial owner of this. So if any of you have your own corporations, it's something you need to do. It's a very simple form and it's not even available yet, but it has to be done by January 1st.
Sorry, final was who?
The federal government, Department of Treasury.
Don't they already know?
No, they don't know. If you have if you do business in the form of a corporation, they don't. How do they know who the owners of the corporation? They don't.
They just list who the officers are.
The officers and anyone who owns at least 25. It's not a big deal. Yes, we have a one-page handout on it. I don't have it. It's called the beneficial ownership law. Call the hotline. We're going to put out more information as the year goes on. It's not going to be a big deal. Not going to be a big deal. All right, that's pretty much it for laws. I think you definitely need to know about. Are there any other form changes that are worth talking about? So I already told you balcony and first of all, let's back up a second. Did you know a new form came out in December? It's attached to your purchase contract. Have you noticed? Let me really back up. I've been doing this so long. I remember when the purchase contract was 2 pages. And you know how many other forms there were on the whole forms library? Like 10. How long is the purchase contract now?
16 pages.
What happened, Gus?
I don't know. Beats me. Lawsuits. But how many other forms do we have? Like 250. I lose track myself. So the point is, the Forms Committee has decided that there are 7 forms that are so important that we're going to pre-attach them to the purchase contract, right? The 2 agency forms, wire fraud advisory, fire inspection advisory, privacy form, and the appraisal, the one that tells the buyer, if you think your appraiser's biased, you can follow it. Well, if you haven't noticed, there's been one more form attached to that package as of a couple months ago. So if you do the purchase contract today, if you even notice it, there's a new form. It's called the Buyer Insurance Advisor. What it does is it tells the buyer, insurance now is a big deal. It's expensive and it's sometimes not easy to get. So it's basically telling the buyer, don't commit to buy this house or condo or whatever until you check out the insurance. Because you may find out the insurance is so expensive that changes your whole attitude towards this transaction. But of course, if you don't check this out before you remove your contingencies, there's nothing you can do about it. So that's already been done. In June, there's going to be a change to the purchase contract. There's actually going to be 3 changes to the purchase contract in June. I told you one already, balcony inspection disclosure. The second one is there's going to be a new contingency in the contract. The contingency is my offer is contingent on getting insurance. Or being satisfied with the insurance that's available. Right now, you have 8 contingencies. Loan, appraisal, inspections, disclosures, CC&Rs, prelim, selling my house first, and solar lease for me if it's out. So right now, buyers have 8 ways to get out of a deal. Starting in June, they're going to have 9 ways to get out of the deal. Because right now, this whole idea of my offer is contingent on getting insurance is sort of part of the inspection contingency. Because now it's going to be a standalone 9 contingency. Okay, so you're going to have 9 contingencies rather than 8. Same 17-day removal. Okay? What's the third and final change to the purchase contract that's happening? Have you ever, once again, dating myself, I remember life before email. You young people are like, really? There was such no cell phones, no internet, no email. We had fax machines. That was high tech. So in the real estate world, when you were in a transaction, you were constantly either faxing or delivering documents to the other side. FedEx just did it all day. But now, if I'm a buyer's agent in an escrow and I need to send the listing agent a removal of contingency or whatever, or a counteroffer amendment, if I send something to the other side, I attach it to an email typically. What's the problem with that? The problem with that is the other agent says, well, you're supposed to remove your contingency, but I never got the email. You said, what are you talking about? I sent the email. I said, I never got it. So it's a he said, she said, and you have, they deny they got it, or it went to my spam, which leads to a question. If I send you an email and it goes to your spam, have you received it or not? You have, which is why I've been telling you ever since email started, anytime you send an email to the other agent, harass them to acknowledge receipt. Make them acknowledge receipt. That changed, if you haven't noticed. The purchase contract now, on the last page of the contract, page 16, where you sign, have you noticed that page autofills with your name and your address and your phone number and your email address? And there's a box underneath it that says, if you check this box, you're telling the other agent that's where to send stuff to. And since I told you that's the right email, if you send me something, you don't have to prove I got it. All you have to prove is you sent it. So if the other agent gives you that email, that if you send them an email and they say, I never got it, you say, I don't care whether you got it or not. You checked the box, you said that was the right place. I can prove I sent it. Since I can prove I sent it, I could care less if you ever opened it or not. Doesn't matter. So that's today. Slight tweak is going to happen where right now you have to check the box to make that true. Starting in June, you're going to have to, the only way for that not to be true would be to opt out. In other words, it's going to say automatically the email that auto-populates on the contract is the right email to send documents to. And if the other agents can prove they sent it to that email address, there's no argument. I never opened it and never got it. So the agent would actually have to check a box to opt out of that. So today you opt into that. Hope this makes any sense. But anyway, so it's just making it harder for the other agent to say, I never got your email. Well, no, the contract says that's the place to send it. I send it there. That's all. Okay. So far, those are the only changes to the purchase contract. There's going to be a new balcony inspection form. I already told you that. The seller property questionnaire is going to have that new question. Have you owned the property less than 18 months? All of our lease forms are going to be tweaked with all these constant changes on the rental forms. Here's what another change you're gonna see in June. You know, on the purchase contract, the 16-page purchase contract, there's paragraph 3, which is sort of this grid, right? You've all seen that. And all the negotiable points are right in paragraph 3, which is why when you're comparing offers, you don't have to read the whole 16 pages. All the deal points, the who's paying for this and how much, and the deadlines are all in paragraph 3, in the grid, I call it. Guess what? The listing contract is gonna have that same grid. So all the deal points in the listing is in one box. As is the buyer broker contract that none of you use today, but you're all gonna be using in the future. That's also gonna have a grid for the deal points, okay?
That's great.
By the way, the buyer broker contract that I keep talking about that none of you use, but you're probably gonna have to use, it's just like a mirror image of a listing. In other words, how is a listing? The listing works is you have a choice when you take a listing, exclusive or non-exclusive. 99% of you choose exclusive, right? Exclusive means you're listing with me. That means if I find you a house, but it doesn't matter who finds you the house. If you buy anything during the listing period, I get paid. Whether I found it, somebody else found it, doesn't matter. I have an exclusive. If you buy it, I get paid. And by the way, you can't just have me find you a house, wait till the listing expires, and then buy it after that. No. Listings are extended, right? The safety clause extends the listing, so you get paid if they buy anything that you introduce to them during the listing. Okay, so that's how listing works. Buyer broker contract is going to work the same way. You have a contract with the buyer, you're basically saying, hey buyer, if you buy anything, if it's exclusive, it's going to say, if you buy anything in the next however many days, I get paid. Or it can be non-exclusive, in which case you're saying to the buyer, well, if I find you something, if I show it to you, introduce it to you, tell you about it, whatever, then you pay me. But if you find it on your own, you don't. So I don't know, maybe in the beginning, a lot of buyer broker contracts are probably going to be non-exclusive. I don't know how that's going to work out. We'll see. But you're also protected, right? If you find them a house, the agreement expires, and then they go ahead and buy it, because you're protected for a period of time after it expires on all the things you introduced to them. Another thing is, one of the ways buyers are going to be not reluctant to sign it is it has a cancellation paragraph. It says either side can cancel this contract. If it's non-exclusive, you can cancel instantly. If it's exclusive, you have to give a 30-day notice. But that's today. I'm thinking if and when this becomes mandatory and everybody has it, it's just going to be automatic. You're not going to be worried about this. Like today, you have to convince a buyer to sign it. I don't want to sign a buyer broker contract. The other agent over there, they're not requiring it. Said, well, listen, look, it's non-exclusive and you can cancel it anytime. It's no, just, and you're not, and don't worry, you're not going to have to pay me anyway as long as you buy something in the MLS. If it becomes mandatory that everyone has to use it, you're not going to have to convince them to sign it because they have no choice. It's required. You see what I'm saying? So I don't think you should be dreading this. Some of you maybe are, but it's something you're going to have to deal with. The rest of the country is moving in the same direction. It's going to happen. The rest of this, the lawsuits, the big picture, the possibility of the whole MLS system going away, no prediction, and it's not going to happen tomorrow. And there's nothing you can do about it. Today, you have use the MLS. Of course you can use the MLS. What I've heard, unfortunately, you tell me if this has happened to you, is buyers calling up listing agents and said, hey, I heard it's illegal for you to pay the buyer's agent. So I'm going to write an offer with you, and you need to discount me the cost of the buyer's agent commission. Have any of you run into this? I've run into it. Of course, my response if I were the listing agent is, oh, you want me to represent you too? Okay, then you're going to pay me. And they're going to say, no, you're going to represent me, but I'm not paying. That's what some people are reading the papers that that's what they're taking out of this. And that's certainly not the case. Dual agency is legal. Dual agency will probably always be legal. But that doesn't mean, first of all, nothing has changed anyway. But even as things do change, it doesn't mean that listing agents are going to have to represent buyers for free. I mean, I think we'd all agree, and this is what this is why I think NAR and CAR and all the brokerages are gonna be successful in this argument, is that buyers need agents more than ever. I mean, when I keep saying this, 35 years ago when I started and the contract was 2 pages. You believe it or not, everyone actually understood the contract. Everyone actually read it. Even your clients read it. It was amazing. So back in those days, the reason people needed agents was not to help them do the transaction. You need agents to find them the property. Because agents were the only way to get to the property. The only way you could find out if a property was for sale was through an agent. Because they had this MLS book. It wasn't online. If you want to know what's available, you had to talk to the agent. And the agent hid this book behind lock and key. You can't see this. Okay, if you hire me though, I'll open the book and see what's available. Nowadays, buyers do not need you to find the house. There's Zillow, there's Redfin, there's everything, there's your website. They need you to help them with the transaction, which is incredibly complicated. And there's so much money at stake and there's so many possibilities of losses. They need a realtor. And realtors need to get paid more than ever because what you do is more and more. So the argument is buyers need agents, and the most logical way for them to get paid is the way they get paid today, through the listing agent. This might change, it might not. But the point is, nothing you can do about it. Any last question? Question for good news on the insurance front. Remember I told you before, there was only that one law that was good news? That was the only good news I had. The good news, what you'd be saying is the insurance to cost less. I mean, there's a big project being worked on. You know how some of the insurers have left the state? They don't even insure them. And the ones that are still there are raising prices and it's not available. And then, okay, I have to use the FAIR plan. The FAIR plan is backed up for like 2 months sometimes. There's a big bargain being worked out where there's going to be a bargain where all these companies that have left are going to come back and they're going to rent and everything's going to be insured. On the other hand, it's probably going to cause an increase in rates even more than already, but at least it would be available and you wouldn't have to use it for. There are moves in fact, to try to reduce that. All I can say is it's in play, it's a big issue, but nothing has changed. Yeah.
I have another question about the balcony thing.
Yeah.
If I own a multi-tenant, property, do I have to have my balconies inspected even if I'm not selling the building?
Exactly. Yeah.
So everybody, everywhere has to have their buildings inspected by January?
If they have 6 feet off the ground, wooden balcony. Yeah.
You need to open an inspection.
Is that annually or only a one-time
The
thing?
good news is this: if it's a condo, the next inspection is not for 9 years. If it's an apartment building, it's not for 6 years.
6 years
After the first one.
So everybody has.
Everyone has to go by January. Then the
Every
next
building in the world.
in California. In California. A lot of buildings in California. This is a big deal. You know what happened, right? It was in Berkeley. It's a building with a balcony. It fell. And tragically, 12 people died. That's what triggered it. Have there been other cities? Yeah. Yes, sir.
Just to piggyback up. So if it's a condo and all the units of balconies, wood balconies, it would be the HOA that has to provide the inspection, or is it the individual?
It depends on who owns the balcony.
Yeah.
And you also have to look at the CCNRs. Typically, it is the HOA. But not necessarily. It's possible that it's not, in which case it's your balcony. And you can, and this doesn't really apply to those. If you want it yourself, you can do what you want. If you want to die, fall off your balcony, that's your problem. But you don't have to really get it inspected. Any more questions?
This was awesome. Round of applause,
Thank
you
you.
guys. Thank you, Bob. Good news, bad news, indifferent. Don't shoot the messenger, right?
Right.
Is that right? Great, thanks, guys. All right, so our sales contest is thriving. Where's our team leaders here? Let's announce for the week. We have Richard Chung or Drakey. Drake might be on Zoom. Richard.
Yes.
All right, so how many points do we have this week? And who do you want to give shout outs to?
once this loads. Okay, we have 63 points for third place.
Nice.
Yeah, wow, third place. Boring. All right, but I'll give a shout out to David Green team for Lindsay Escarica, Joe Rogan, and Ashley Undercover for all opening escrow.
Yeah, lost
Yay.
it. Keep pushing strong, keep turning those appointments in. I think it's really important, whether you have a sale or not, make sure you're turning in your sheets every week. Where's our next team? Step on.
We're not automatically second place.
Oh, all right, we're in second place.
Do you have your shout outs?
Who's here that, so it's the same people, if you notice, right, that show up to the meetings, that show up to the trainings, that actually do the work, that make a contribution, so kudos to Penny for. The beauty of the contest is that it's centered around activity, and the activity leads to results, so.
Yeah.
Shout out to you, Penny.
Yeah, I love that.
All right.
And special shout out to Richard Sperling, who had an awesome week. He took one new listing, he closed 2 listings, he wrote 2 contracts. He had a buy side closed, all by using coastal properties escrow, or coastal escrow, and then he also had someone in his downline. So he was a major points grab this week, so congrats to Richard. I love that. Okay, which means who's in first place? We are slaying everyone. Brandy, shout outs to you this week.
Okay, so this week Leslie Campos was in the lead. She had 1 listing closed, 1 contract written, 1 buy side closed. She's coastal escrow, and she has someone in her downline.
Good job, you guys. All right, we still have a couple weeks left. Push, 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 because it's great to see you guys in production and doing the activities you need to do to make your closing. So let's take a look at what the bonus question is this week, which is open houses are working really, really well. So did you do an open house? So if you guys did an open house this week, schedule one, make sure you go on there because you're going to get 1 extra bonus point every week this week for doing an open house. Let's take a look at our training and events that we have coming up here. All right, real quick, data mining with Doug. It's right here after the session at what, 1:15? Yep, utilizing 3 different data providers in person and on Zoom. We have Simon, we have our contracts class coming up there, right, Simon? Great, Richard Rodriguez. Rich, what are you doing, man?
Really from here?
Yeah, go right ahead.
I need to raise your hand. Anyone who could use the additional $300,000, the net worth bank account. Oh, so Naira's like, okay, all right. You got it. Well, look, I'm having a training on how I purchased the warehouse this Friday at 11 a.m. It's in the city of Commerce section at the warehouse where I purchased it. So it's live on site. I'm going to be going over step by step how I prospected that property. I'm going to be going over how I financed the property and the exit strategy that got me to over $300,000. And I think it's valuable. I'm not just sharing this with anyone. Like I want to specifically invite you all here because obviously this is a home for me. And I think you guys will find a lot of value that you guys go to your clients and also for yourselves. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm going to leave you guys with this quote. Do not be a victim to this quote that still makes my stomach cringe. Brokers die broke. Okay? And that should be silent after that. That's pretty sad. And it's a statistic. Do not be another one. Hope to see you there. Any questions in the QR code or my office is back.
Thanks, Rich. That's great. All right, online leads. Some of you guys are getting Obsidy leads, working with online leads. We set up a special training session just for our offices, and that's happening Friday, March 15th at 1 p.m. Please, please, please register so we can make sure that you guys have the link and you're ready to go. Team meeting happening next week, so we're going to have some exciting announcements. Minnie's going to be reviewing all the market stats and data, the vision speech that we went over at family reunion. And then we're also going to have Laura with RERM. So that's our risk management company, our legal team that works with you and your clients. They're going to have exciting new announcement that's going to make just really filing something or getting your clients to be able to open a case with RERM much easier. It's going to be a digital portal. So you guys want to make sure you mark your calendars to come in so you can learn how to do that, how to create an account. And again, make it a much smoother transaction than our paper pushing back and forth to sign in the broker, right? It's going to be really beneficial to you guys. So make sure you join us next week for the team meeting. Mr. Ethics. Oh, let me move the registration here. Mr. Ethics with Rob Feldman. That's happening here on 3/19, talking about ethics, not as you know it. And talk about the importance of honesty, integrity, and transparency in real estate. So that's happening on 3/19. It's on Zoom and in person. You guys can register there where Rob's going to talk about new things that are happening right now in the market and conversations that he's seen over the years. We do have a headshot photo day that's coming up with Michael Halley from Harbor Media. That's happening on the 21st, and you can sign up. It's going to be from 11 a.m. to 12:30. It's only it's only $55 for a 10-minute session. You can get the location here and get the edited photos back in less than a week. So a lot of you guys need to update your headshots, okay? So before we have to have that one-on-one conversation, come sign up because we're making it as easy as possible for you to be able to get started, right? Tech Talks. Manny, do you want to talk about this session a little bit, or Simon from South Bay? I know you guys have had this.
Yeah, I could share. So Eric is one of my agents at the office, super diligent, very active, engaged in a lot of social media. He actually did a podcast as well with a couple of the agents and myself. Awesome guy. He's going to provide some value in what he's doing to really scale his business. So,
Awesome.
yeah.
Great.
He's coming here, right?
Yes, he's coming here, our training room, 3/28 at 11 a.m. All right. Value times 2. So we did have to change the date a little bit because we didn't factor in for central time zone. But remember the value squared when we're talking about the buyer broker agreement and the value that we bring to our clients. This is going to be a session that's hosted for 4 weeks, 5 weeks. All you have to do is just come one day. It is a 4-hour course, but we did change our date to April 10th here as a watch party here within the office. You're more than welcome to take it any other time, multiple times. But we're all going to get together as a family here if you'd like to join us on the 10th. So then that way we can have a good discussion about it. If you did already pre-register, we went ahead and put you on the list for the next one. So we'll just go from there. But love to have you join us on the 10th from 10 to 2. Right? So pretty exciting. You guys are going to get Fritz for an entire meeting. Manny and I and Cindy and Simon, we're going to FSO, which is going to be in Austin. So you guys are going to get Fritz Pollard for the entire meeting. Now, I cannot tell you enough. There's only so much I can control about what he says and doesn't say. So it's going to be pretty entertaining, and you might want to make sure that you put it down on your calendar because goodness knows what he's going to do and come up with. Of course, we have our South County Golf Classic. We have Elaine here. Elaine, yes, back there. We're all really excited. We have a couple teams forming from the office. I know we have some in South Bay, but if you're like me too, I asked Elaine, I said, I'm not really a golfer, but I'd love to come and support. There's still there ways that we can support, either monetarily or come and participate.
Or if you know anybody that golfs. And
Yes.
them,
Yes.
if it's just a single and they don't want to do the whole foursome, they'll be paired up.
Yes.
And this is to benefit KW Cares. It's a big fundraiser for the office. And it's a great day too. We're going to have a lot of fun.
Oh, good. Well, I'm excited. Elaine's gonna be right in the front too. Are we gonna make you tee off the first person? No. Okay. Okay. I'll be the cart driver. Can I drive you around in the cart? Oh,
Bloody Marys.
yeah. I love that. Thanks, guys. All right, that's it. Thank you for sticking around. Appreciate you guys. Hope you had a great meeting. Thank you very much.
So we can leave it open or no?
Yeah.
As the kind of 700
Yeah.
people.